I look at you, I don't see your mistakes. That's why we need each other.
We can't stop him alone. No one can. But we can find a way. Together.
Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts.
What's good? Welcome back to Shaq Cinematic Universe. It's your boy Shaq, and today we've got a little bit of a different video today. Today is a review. We've got a review for a new film that just came out not too long ago, The Thunderbolts. I was about to say the other name, but before I even talk about any of this, spoiler warning. If you're clicking this video to watch this video, I don't know why you're clicking this video if you haven't watched this video. There's going to be spoilers. We're going to talk about it. So just leave a like, save the video, make sure you're subscribed. And then, once you've watched it, you come back to this video and watch it, you know what I'm saying? You can go check out some other videos of me reacting to some other stuff while you wait, you know what I'm saying? But I'm assuming a lot of you have watched it by now. It's been out for like over a week or so, you know what I mean? I think so, like maybe a week or two. But yes, we're talking about the Thunderbolts. First of all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stream. Check out the Patreon where you can get these full-length reactions, uncut, raw, you know what I'm saying, and early access to all that shit, bro. But 2 days ago, I went to the cinema with my boy Michael, and we got our Tango Ice Blast, and we went to watch the Thunderbolts. Going into this film, I was already excited. I'm a big Marvel fan. But this one, once I saw the first trailer for this film, I knew I was going to enjoy it. I could just tell the vibes. I could tell that I was going to. It seemed like a movie. I was more excited for this film than the Fantastic Four film. I'll be 100% honest. I don't know why, but I felt like this was just going to be good. Like the medley of all the characters and, the personalities, I felt like this was just going to do well. Like, I feel like this wasn't going to be a bad film. It might have been good or great or amazing, but I knew it wouldn't be a bad film. Obviously, Thunderbolts is the film I watched not directly after, but the last Marvel film before Thunderbolts that I watched was Captain America Brave New World. I was going to do a review on that, but I don't know why I didn't end up doing it, but I just didn't end up doing it. But that one was an okay film. Like, it was cool, those moments I enjoyed, but it wasn't a wow film. I think I rated that like the same. Like, I put that one on the same level of like the first Captain America. Like, it was cool, but this film was great. I don't know how I should talk about this, because I don't want it to be too long, but starting from the beginning, you had Yelena just talking about her life after losing her sister, and then just doing all these missions. She's just lost, doesn't know what to do with herself. Like, this whole movie, I feel like the tagline for this movie should have been Thunderbolts, dealing with depression. Thunderbolts, the therapy group. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like this whole film, like the underlying like message of this was like depression, dealing with loneliness, dealing with all this bad shit that's going on in your life, trying to find a direction when you feel like everything in your life is just going to shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I felt like this film was about. And I feel like Yelena was kind of like one of the perfect characters to do that, because if you watched her in Black Widow, obviously that was our first introduction to her. Her and Black Widow, like, obviously Yelena and Alexei, the Red Guardian. For me, when I watched Black Widow originally, they were like the standouts from those films. Every time the Red Guardian was on screen, I just found it funny and it was cool, you know what I mean? And then Yelena, I really liked her because I felt like, her character from the start, it had this kind of personality. Like, Black Widow, the reason she was one of the best, and she was able to make it out the whole program is because like Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, she had to like just negate all of her feelings and like leave her. I feel like that was the only way she made it out of the Red Room in the first place, because she had to become this like stoic kind of super spy that, you know, didn't really show emotions, knew how to play on emotions, like, you know, that scene in the first Avengers when she's talking to Loki, you know, she's playing up like, oh my gosh, figures out Loki's plan, is like, oh, that's your plan, oh okay, but you know what I mean, she was able to just switch off like any like sort of feelings. I felt like we only started seeing a lot of them emotion. Shout out to Scarlett Johansson, because I feel like that role given to anyone else, I don't think Black Widow would have had that much emotion at all. You know what I mean? But you could tell, I feel like there was like a certain point, like halfway through her like journey as Black Widow, that you could tell Natasha, Scarlett Johansson had a little bit more input in her role. I'm like, yo, you know, just like little stuff, you know, because like it was the same with Hawkeye and Black Widow were kind of like pushed on the back burner of like, oh yeah, they're part of Avengers, but we don't know much about them. But you know, I feel like Black Widow's story came really late, and sorry for the yap sesh, but she didn't really like show her emotions. And then getting the contrast of Yelena, her younger sister, she felt like her younger sister were like, you know, she cared about the family. Like obviously she was doing all this stuff because she was younger. She was younger going into the whole the Red Room program, you know what I mean? So she still had a lot of like those, like she didn't really have any sort of childhood, like the very few memories she had, they were gone since young until she was freed again, and then it's just a flood of emotions. Like she was under this control and just getting her feelings back, and it's like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? She's being herself, being a human again, you know, and she's just wanting to do all these cool little stuff. And there was that one scene where they're sat at the table and, you know, the families are arguing and they're like, we're not even a real family. And then she's like, you guys are real too. This family is real to me. Like, to me, this is all I have, bro. I was under this trance this whole time. I'm finally free. And the only normalcy that I ever felt, ever, is saying that it wasn't real, like that it's real to her, because that was the only time, like the little moment she had of realness. And then, you know, so now imagine that only moment of realness, and the only person out of that group of her family that was showing her some sort of like real love was her sister, is now dead, and she's working, you know, back doing her Black Widow stuff, but obviously not under the Red Room. It was cool to just see that development and just seeing her, you know, she's kind of figuring out life again while doing the stuff she's used to doing. And then I feel like it was just great to center her around all of this, you know what I mean? I felt like her dealing with her emotions, because to her, these emotions are somewhat, they're not new to her in this film, but just the emotions in general, you know what I mean? She's starting to question, what am I doing this for? You know what I mean? She's the first one off the bat. And it was great. So you go from her, and then she goes to Alexei, the Red Guardian, her father. You know, Alexei from the Black Widow films, you know, he wanted the glory of the Red Guardian, you know what I mean? He's wanted that from the beginning. And, you know, you just see, I love their little relationship. The actor that plays the Red Guardian is so good. I really fuck with the vibe. And I just felt like, you know, it was cool because they're not really related, but, you know, that's the only family they have. They really only have them two. Leading into the whole, then we go into the whole, what's her name? Val? Is it Valentina? Defontaine or whatever? Yeah, her. She's basically the woman version of Nick Fury, and I low key, I low key respect her because the multiple times she pivoted in this film and somehow stuck the landing, like so many shit was going wrong, but she kept on just bouncing back. First is okay, we're gonna get rid of all the idiot evidence, so I look innocent. Fuck, it goes wrong. They've escaped, and now we have to go and attack them. Fuck, they found Bob. Oh no, now we can't attack them. We have to keep these motherfuckers alive. Fuck, they've escaped, but we got Bob, so we're going to turn him into our super dude. Fuck, Bob is Bob actually, he thinks he's God now. Okay, let's just kill him. Fuck, that nigga came back to life. God damn. Okay, it's kind of the end of the world, I need to I need to go to escape. Fuck, they saved the day. Okay, fuck. What we're gonna do? They're trying to come after me. Boom! We announced them as the New Avengers. So she just kept her spinning back, and then she had that little assistant, which I've seen a theory that she's Songbird. Which if she is, it would have been cool if they hinted at it more in this film, but it's whatever. We have, who else was this? We had Bucky. Bucky's a congressman in this film. Obviously we saw that in Brave New World. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. Bucky is dying in the next Avengers film or the one after that. I don't think he makes it out, bro. And here's my reason why, bro. You know what I mean? I feel like his story's done. Like, there's not much more you can do to progress Bucky's story without making it feel forced. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Bucky in this film, but was there any real reason for Bucky to be there? Not really. You know what I mean? I generally not really. Obviously, we're all gonna love Bucky. If we see him in the film, we're gonna love him too. But for character-wise, it didn't fully, in my eyes, makes sense why he would be there. And even furthermore, at the end, when they announce it's the New Avengers, and he goes along with this for 14 months after all the stuff he went through with Wakanda, now and then, the trust he got from Wakanda through Sam and stuff like that. I just felt like, and that supportive role was it's kind of it was questionable, but they clearly like Bucky, I just feel like you went through the whole, Winter Soldier arc, and then you went from now he's coming back as a regular human, trying to deal with people still thinking he's a Winter Soldier. Then you went through he's in Falcon and Winter Soldier, he's kind of finally accepting all the bad stuff that he's went through, accepting that, you need to go help these people and move on and be a better person. And then in this film, they've kind of made him oh no, we gotta, I don't know. I feel like they could have, I don't know. I feel like the only route other than this, where if they wanted to prolong this more, is if they went the White Wolf route, because the fact he's even still called the Winter Soldier is a little bit techie, and he was just a congressman. You know what I mean? It's kind of techie. You know what I mean? If they went the White Wolf route in Wakanda and stuff like that, I feel like that could have been a route that they've gone with him. If not, just kill him off. I love him, but I feel like it's okay for characters to reach the end of their storyline and maybe not show them in projects at all. Maybe just don't have them in projects unless it's the big ones where you're okay, might need Bucky's help, or just kill him off. That's why I feel like Bucky, he has to die either in Doomsday or Secret Wars. It probably will be Secret Wars. You know what I mean? He'll probably die in Secret Wars. I feel like he'll make a sacrifice in Secret Wars. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like. It only makes sense. And then we have, Dime dime store, dollar store, Captain America, we got US Agent John Walker. I've been seeing the debates online, bro, about the whole, is he the strongest super soldier? I feel like strongest? He probably might be the strongest, but I don't think he will beat Captain America in a fight. Unless it was like they had the same timelines. Like, obviously, I feel like he's only a year being a super soldier or some shit at this point. Like, if it was the first year of Cap being a super soldier, John Walker's whooping his ass, obviously. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? He's got the experience to whoop. But Cap from, like, you know, like before he died, you know, shit, or before he went back in time and shit. Let's be honest, Cap is open. He's just he will just get outskilled. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so much strength can do. There's only so much strength can do when it like comes to like skill. Look at what happened with the Dome Melage and shit. Obviously, he wasn't a super soldier then, but you know, I feel like there's been times in the past, like the Winter Soldier, obviously at some point he does overcome like someone like Black Widow with strength, but the fact that Black Widow's been able to somewhat hold off Winter Soldier for a minute, like a couple minutes, shows, you know, with enough skill and a little bit strength, and enough strength, like you're beating someone like John Walker. But I liked him in this film, you know what I mean? He added, like, I feel like they all had comedy moments, you know what I mean? But I just liked how, you know, in his mind, he's still that kind of, he's still fresh on that soldier. He had out of everybody. But I feel like a lot of these people have had, somewhat had a hero moment. Well, Red Guardian has been like years ago, and then obviously the Winter Soldier. I don't know if he fully had his like superhero moment, but he was Cap. He was considered Cap. So even though like he felt like he was fit for that role, so you can tell he kind of carries that like aura of like, yo, I'm Cap, and you know, America. You know, I'm a beat you type shit, you know what I mean? But you can see the aggression in him, and you know, just him wanting to be a leader. Someone like he believes he should be able to lead. You know, I mean, these group of people, like there's hints of it, like, oh no, I'm gonna do this, you know what I mean, whoop to whoop, and it shows that he's not a leader by some of the actions he makes and stuff like that, which it makes sense. I fucked with him, you know, I fucked with the shield and stuff, which I've seen people speculating on what the shield is made of. I genuinely just believe it's a very dense metal, you know what I mean? I don't believe it's vibranium, because it wouldn't. One, I feel like the shield does seem heavy, so I feel like it would be lighter, and I don't know if there would be that many scratches and shit like that, you know what I mean? And two, I don't think it's adamantium, because I feel like if it was adamantium, they would have mentioned it, even just a line or something, because it doesn't make sense, because this was just after, the Captain America film, so you would think they'll be like, oh yeah, this is some, you know, adamantium shield. I feel like John Walker's character would brag about it or shit like that, or like after Century Bent, he was like, this was supposed to be stronger than vibranium or some shit, you know what I mean? I feel like he would have had a line like that. They would have made a point to it. This is Marvel. They literally end up calling these niggas the New Avengers. They end up showing up at the end of the post-credit scene. They end up showing Fantastic Four. You don't think they're going to take the chance to mention this is adamantium? You know what I mean? Like, come on. So I feel like it's just a very strong, I felt like it was just very strong metal, especially with all those scratches and stuff like that. You know, I just felt like it was very strong metal. You have Ghost. Ghost didn't really have a lot of personal moments. She was cool. I loved the fight scene. the fight scene between all of them at the beginning, you know what I mean, when they were in that room and the knife and shit like that was so clean. That's one thing I can say about it. So the fight scenes were tough, but I love the action as well. Even them crashing into the building, hopping out the van, like Yelena, like you could just see the way they all they fight is very different, and you can tell by the skill set, like them just hopping out of the van, the way they hop out of the van, you could just tell, like, Winter Soldier, his first fight, he told Thingy there was no plan, but he pops off the door, going in, barging in with like the shield and stuff. The Winter Soldier's tactile. He will use certain stuff. You've seen him with the knife and stuff like that. Boom. You get like the other two, like obviously Ghost just phases through and just phases there. You got US Agent John Walker just busting out, you know, ready to attack because, you know, he's got that aggression and stuff like that. You got you got fucking Alexei, you know, the way Gotti, he's just gassed to fight. He's like, yes, come on, the Thunderbolts, you know. And then you get Yelena, instead of just going in the back with everyone else, she sneaks in the front and comes out the front, you know, to misdirect, you know what I mean, because she's that spy, you know, that elegant, you know, Red Room stuff. And I find that just dope. It's just the little details like that which I really appreciate about this film, you know what I mean. And then yeah, so like I feel like, you know, when it came to like Ghost, I feel like we could have used a little bit more, you know, like maybe a little scene of what she's like dealing with, you know, when you know, Bob touches them and then they go into the little void stuff. It would have been cool to see a little bit of that. Taskmaster. I feel like she got done the dirtiest. Not only with it, I knew she was gonna die. Off the first trailer, I knew Taskmaster wasn't gonna make it, bro. You could just tell that there were certain shots in the trailer you could tell she was just plastered in there because like seconds later you wouldn't see any action from her. You know what I mean? So like, sorry, my mind went further again. So yeah, with Taskmaster, do you know one thing I was hoping? You know, I knew they were gonna kill her off. What would have been cool is maybe if they were going through that little base, or maybe a post-credit scene or something, or like they could have done this even in fucking in the Black Widow, like a post-credit scene where, like, just to retcon, you know, Taskmaster, because let's be honest, nobody really like Taskmaster, like this version of Taskmaster. Like we know the you know, the guy version, you know, the one from the comics. My knowledge of Taskmaster mainly comes from the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show, and I fucked with him in there. Just the way he you know, mimics everybody's movements and stuff like that. It would have been cool. A way they could have retconned it. It was like her father got the idea of Taskmaster, of the original Taskmaster, which he had ended up getting locked up because the original Taskmaster tried coming to the Red Room to get some sort of secret or some shit that he was trying to sell, but you know, the Red Room got the better of him and he had him locked up. And as soon as that airship fell down, you see a scene of Taskmaster out of rubber. You see like maybe a little file of him, and it's the original Taskmaster, you know what I'm saying, and he could have took the mantle back, or maybe he was locked up in this place, and you know, he could he's thinking of taking his mantle back, you know, as the original Taskmaster. You know, I think that would have been cool, you know what I mean, because I feel like someone like him would be a good villain for like certain characters, like Spider-Man, you know what I mean, because initially he would obviously be copying Spider-Man's moves, but I feel like Spider-Man is such a versatile fighter, the way he moves and his like webs and stuff like that, that evidently Spider-Man will be able to beat Taskmaster, you know what I mean, because there's only so much you could do without having Spidey's technology and powers and stuff like that. But I feel like Taskmaster, like if it was the guy version, would be a good recurring, like, kind of, not like high level villain, but kind of like low tier villain. I felt like they need certain ones like that. Like Batroc the Leaper, bro, they ended up killing him in Captain America Civil War. I liked how he was kind of reoccurring. It would have been cool if maybe he got in Captain America in the Falcon show, whatever, in the Falcon show, that is maybe got shot in the leg or the spine, and it makes him paralyzed in the legs, and then he gets some technology in his legs that helps him like basically have super legs where he can like jump real far, kick really hard and stuff like that, and he starts using his legs as main stuff, like in Backtrack the Leaper, you know what I'm saying, in like the comics and stuff. That would have been cool. These are just little ideas. I'm telling you, Marvel needs to hire me, bro. But yeah, I fuck with that. But I just fuck with this whole team as a general. Oh, Bob, the fucking main event, Bob. I liked how they did him as a whole. There's only like minimal knowledge I have of the Sentry. You know, he's basically, I know that he's basically Marvel Superman and stuff like that. I know that in the comics is something about him being a druggie, and he gets this like super soldier serum, woo-to woo, but it makes it blah 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 into Sentry, and then the Void enters in, woo-to woo, all that shit. But I like the way they did it in this film, and I like how at the end they kind of make it like, like you see he does it like in the post credit, he's like, I don't really use my Sentry powers because there's a chance for the Void to come back. I like how they've found a way to somewhat, I know a lot of people say, I don't why do they keep on nerfing characters? A lot of things people need to get nerfed for the plot, let's be honest. Like that, like at a certain point, that's why in the Flash show, like, he would build up his speed, nerf and build up. But at a certain point, you're gonna question, why is he not defeating all these villains in a Flash? You know what I mean? So they had to nerf him, which it spoiled it narratively, because but the reason the Flash one didn't make sense is because one episode you do this, then the other you did it, then they would make him fast enough to do it. Like, they kept on flip-flopping with their nerfing abilities, but this I feel like is a valid like nerfing. If this nigga is basically a god, like having him like only use his powers when necessary, I think that's a good idea. You know what I mean? So like I feel like he can now in the future, if he gets his own film, if he's in other films or whatever, we're gonna get this process of him like learning to use his abilities. Like, he won't use it to his high level of just him crashing out, but he'll be slowly like being able to move the cup again and stuff like that. I think that's dope. And then obviously you might have this one scene where almost everything's almost lost, and then Yelena's like, Bob, you need to crash out. You need to go now. We need you. And he'd be like, no, but the Void, but we need Sentry. And then he just goes all out and that boom, boom, haymakers, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that would be dope. But I loved his character, and I felt like, I don't know if they explained this in the film, but how I see the Void in the film is kind of like, before he got the same stuff like that, he was obviously on drugs. He's already fucked up. He had a bad mental health, he's already fucked up mentally. And the super soldier serum enhances everything about you. And this was obviously the crazy super soldier serum, you know what I mean? Because this nigga made him a god. Like, this ain't no regular super soldier serum. So this made him go super, like, this was like super soldier serum on steroids, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that, because of his bad mental health and the condition he was in, ended up like splitting his mind into literally like two entities of the Void, and then obviously him, Sentry, kind of Bob, kind of like a situation with who's the nigga with like Moon Knight, but his like traumatic shit like was fucking the serum and shit, what I'm saying, which I kind of fuck with. Or it would have been cool if they did it where like initially when the serum was in him, what I mean, it didn't work and it actually killed him, and then that's when the Void entered his body, and the Void is the one that actually kept him alive, what I mean. Like the Void was a whole set, actually kept it alive. So this whole time he's thinking it's just like some other thingy with Jiggy, but he ends up learning like, no, this is actually a whole actual like being, like some like dimensional being shit, bro, and it was the reason you're still alive today. And if he gets rid of it, he like dies, because that's the only thing keeping him alive. You know what I mean? So that's why when he taps into his powers, you know, eventually the Void tries to take over to use his abilities. You know what I mean? That's a cool thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm waffling. You know what I mean? I just be having ideas and shit. You know what I'm saying? But even the scene when they're in the Void and then Yelena's doing these beautiful flips while all this stuff is moving, they literally use the power of friendship to defeat this nigga, bro. They literally use the power of friendship to defeat this nigga. Because when he originally showed up in his suit, which I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the suit when he first walked in the scene, but seeing it in motion, it kind of looks better. But I'm not like the craziest fan of the suit, so hopefully he gets an update of the suit. You know what I mean? But just seeing him fling people, bend the shield and stuff like that, is like, yo, they are showing that this nigga's strong as hell. And then when he's as the Void as well, like he's on the dark, he's literally just a shadow. It's just so tough. You know what I mean? It's just so tough. But like, all this glazing, you know what I mean, I do feel like I have to come with some sort of negative. You know, it only makes sense. My negatives of this film, like I said, the whole Bucky situation, I don't think it fully, like, I can see where they will try to go with it, but I don't know if it fully makes sense for him to go down that route of actually being a new Avenger, especially after, you know, Sam's pissed, like all that development they've had before. He just, narratively, I'm like, I don't know about that. And then obviously, I'm not a fan of, I feel like just like certain characters could have had just a little more development, like, you know, Ghost a little bit, because Ghost, the only other time we saw her was in Ant-Man, you know what I mean? We've seen Yelena a couple of times, you know what I mean? Obviously, we've only seen Red Guardian, I think, once, but, you know, Red Guardian's character, he's one of those characters, it's self-explanatory, you know what I mean? And I felt like he got a lot of screen time in this film anyways. So, yeah, just a little bit more development on Ghost. It would have been cool, you know, when they were in the Void, just seeing little snapshots of other people's most traumatic stuff, like Bucky's, you know, Red Guardian's, Ghosts. Obviously, we saw John's and stuff about his family, and that was kind of cool. But yeah, overall, it was a really good film. I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I feel like it has rewatchability as well, which I feel like makes this film really good. You know, it gives me like the vibes of like Civil War, Winter Soldier, mixed with like Creature Commando, Suicide Squad, Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, we're all mixed into one thing, which you can't go wrong with. You know what I mean? Like, damn near you could almost convince me that James Gunn directed this shit. It just gives all those vibes, you know what I mean? Just a little bit less more jokes than James Gunn would probably do, and a little bit less more gore. You know what I mean? But I really enjoyed this film. I would give this film like, I'd give this, is 5 is average? I'd genuinely give this an 8. Like, there's not many bad things where I was like, I didn't like this about this film. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it, you know what I mean? I really think it was a good film. I'll give it an 8. You know what I mean? And maybe give me a week or two, give me a minute to maybe like rewatch it or watch a breakdown and shit. I might change my answer. Obviously, over time, stuff marinates, you know what I mean? And you change your minds on certain stuff. But for now, I really enjoyed it. I might be off the high, the recency bias, you know what I mean? But I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below if you would want more reviews like this. And let me know your thoughts on Thunderbolts in general. If you agree with my thoughts or you just think, what is this nigga on about? This film was ass. I want to hear your thoughts. You know what I mean? I'm active in the comments anyways. I'll probably end up responding to a couple of you guys. Let me know if you like these kind of style of videos as well for, you know, because I still go to the cinema. Obviously, I held out for Sinners. I've been trying to avoid spoilers like crazy. I held out so I could react on the channel with you guys. So y'all better, when that video drops, you better show some love. Cause I've been trying to hold back. But other than that, bro, I don't want to waste your time. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's free, you know, and it really just helped out the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Also check out the Patreon where you can get this full-length reaction. I don't know if I'm gonna edit this much. I'll be 100% honest. I don't know if I will. I'll see. Obviously, we have the full-length reactions for all the other shows we've been watching on this channel, movies and stuff like that. The Patreon really does help if you go show your support over there. And that, I'll see you guys later. This was the Thunderbolts, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Y'all inspired me to make my own movie reaction channel. See that?
Thank you, Shark Cinematic
We're
Universe.
so good. We create
We're
competition.
inspirations.
We create competition.